Drug rape cases are reported everywhere around the world. But the worst thing is about the cases that are never reported because of shame. Often people are embarrassed and sometimes people don't even know what to do, especially if you're traveling to a new country and you don't speak the language. And it is a very big issue in Korea as well. Now, please note that I'm not making this video to say that, oh, Korea is a dangerous country, it's a bad country, don't visit Korea. I actually think the opposite way. I believe Korea is a very safe country and I highly recommend you guys to please visit Korea. But just like anywhere in the world, you know, there are good people and there are shitty people. So you have to be very careful wherever you go, wherever you're planning to travel, just be very careful. And to help me with that, actually there is a person who went through some bad experiences and she actually volunteered herself to talk to you guys about it so that you are careful, especially if you're traveling to a new country just by yourself or with your friends for the first time. So without further ado, let's meet her. First of all, thank you so much for your time today. A lot of people contacted me, but some people got scared not to talk about it because, you know, it is a kind of a thing where people can easily get provoked and, you know, sometimes, especially in Korea, like people sometimes really get upset on the internet.
Yes.
So my question to you is, like, what made you come out and, you know, take this risk? It's kind of a risk, you know, people could like really get mad. So what made you do this interview?
For me, I've seen it happen to so many women, and as a foreign woman living here, I know there was one day I was talking to some of my friends, there were 4 of us, and 3 out of the 4 have had experiences with this. So it's not an uncommon problem, and I remember when it happened to me, I didn't have any idea of what to do. So mostly I just hope that this can help somebody in the future.
So how long you've been in Korea?
About 2 years.
You mentioned that it happened to you. Was it like you were just new to the country at that time, or was it like happened like after a while?
So actually it happened after a while of being here, which I think at that point I felt even more like, oh, I know what I'm doing here. I'm more settled and comfortable, but that situation kind of made me realize I'm not as settled as I thought I was. There's still a lot more to learn.
And I think it's such a wonderful point you just raised, that just because you lived here for a while, think like, oh, I know a lot, and then imagine people who are just coming here for the first time or even traveling for the first time, how much more, you know, they are prone to this kind of thing.
Well, I actually remember when I first came here, my friends and I had gone out one night, and I guessed that I was really naive. I didn't even think about this as an issue. It had never crossed my mind before this. But we were out one night and some guy offered me a mint. And so I took it and my friend saw that and she went, no, and smacked it away from me. And I didn't understand why. At the point, I was like, why is this a problem? And she explained to me later, you have no idea what that was. And I think I was really naive to have done that in the first place, but that was my first time being like, oh, okay. This is something I really need to be more cautious about.
And then what happened, like, you know, your own experience, like, how did you even, like, probably, I'm sure, like, by the time it happened to you, you already knew certain things about it, right? You might have heard from friends or all. How come you got, you know, trapped?
This particular night, we had been with some friends, and, you know, towards the end of the night, there was this man who had somehow joined our friend group, but I kind of had a weird feeling about him, but also he seemed nice and kind, so I tried to be kind back to him. And we ended up going to another place, and I'm someone where I always buy my own drinks. I never let people buy me drinks. I never let someone pour it without me seeing it because I want to be cautious after that first experience. And so, you know, we're all standing and talking and having a good time, and I had ordered a drink, and for some reason, I don't know why, but he passed me my drink. And I remember not that long after, in the back of my head, I told myself I shouldn't drink this right now. I shouldn't have this, but I still did. That was my mistake. But a few minutes later, I just remember starting to feel really weird and just not all there in my head, and nothing like I had ever experienced before. So one of my friends had just come to the country, and the last things I remember is turning and telling her, like, I need to leave, we need to go. And luckily she listened and we left. So I don't remember anything that happened after this point. and that's not like me. And she told me that I had gotten her a taxi to go home, and I got a taxi for myself to go home as well. So I was still able to function. I just can't remember anything, and that's not like me at all. And after that, I do remember at one point in the taxi, like I kind of came to and then went back out. But I woke up on the side of the road, laying down on the side of the road, and the taxi driver was standing over me, shaking me to wake me up, asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And again, I don't remember what happened after that. And the next morning I woke up home. I managed to get home, but I know, like, as I had walked in, I guess I had fallen over or done something, but things were broken in my house, and I just never have experienced that feeling before. It was just nothing like I had ever experienced before, I guess.
The guy, like, because your friend was with you, he left, or like?
I'm not even sure what happened with him. I think my friend is pretty good at keeping people safe, so I think she had a feeling. He didn't try to pursue, luckily, but
like, thank God, like, it did not happen. What if it had happened? What was the next thing you would have done? Like, you know, because as I was telling you, like, I had a friend, she got raped, and like she woke up in a hotel naked. She did not know what to do, and of course she was embarrassed. And of course, when you don't speak the language, you don't know exactly, right? And she just came back, went to school, and then nothing happened. I wonder, like, do you know what are the rules? Like, if somebody is in that situation right now, where to call? Who can we take help from?
So if it were me that it had happened to, if it had happened, I honestly don't know what I would have done, because you hear a lot of stories about being here where this kind of situation does happen, but usually the police believe, well, you were drunk, how do you know you didn't accept it? How do you know you didn't give him the wrong idea? And generally, if you were drunk, and they are going to see this as you were being drunk, not necessarily drugged, unless you get tested right away, and they don't always want to do that. But even in that case, it's really hard to get help from the police. I do know that there are numbers that you can call that will help you with translations, and they'll provide you with legal support while you're in the police station, so they can help you to get it reported, but that's all I really know.
How often do you see that, where you, or from, you know, stories you've heard, that how often it's happening over weekends when girls go out? Is it very frequent, or?
I think I see this kind of dynamic, this kind of situation all of the time. But it's also hard to know, unless you know that person, it's hard to know if they've been drugged or if they're extremely drunk. But you always see girls, I'm sure you've probably seen it, you always see girls who are not okay.
Do you think foreign girls are easy victims? Like the girls who are just traveling for a while or are here, they are easy victim for Korean guys?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I definitely think it's something to be more aware of, because also, again, from the legal side, and this isn't just even in Korea, it's also in Japan. There's similar situations. I lived in Japan for a year. But there are certain legal limitations where if you're not in the country for 6 months, you can't press charges. Something to that extent. I'm not sure about the exact laws here, but you do have to be in the country for a certain amount of time. And if you're not, you can't do anything. So not only literally in the sense that you're vulnerable, but legally you're also vulnerable in this case.
I heard, like, in Korea, often they say when a girl is drunk and a guy have sex with her, it's not considered rape. And if it's true or not, like, have you heard of it?
Oh, definitely. I think that's true. And it's also, even if the man is drunk and he rapes you, if he was drunk, then his legal sentence is lesser. There's actually a very famous case now about an ajushi. I'm not sure if you've heard about this case, raping a 10-year-old girl, and because he was drunk at the time, his sentence wasn't as strict. And they also said she didn't fight back enough. So
I mean, she's 10 years old.
She's 10 years old. How could she? So I definitely think that's one of the issues with Korea, is that alcohol is seen as not a plausible cause, as a like.
It's an excuse, right?
Yeah,
You can easily.
It's seen as a legitimate excuse for whatever your crime
exactly.
was.
I can say that I was also drunk, and I don't know. I didn't rape that person, but even I would have done that. But
You would have done it whether you were drunken or sober. You just did it more freely, I guess.
see, I'm a guy. I can't really know that feeling, or I can't really 100% understand that. But from girls' perspective, sometimes as a young person, when you're not that experienced, if it happens to you, you don't know, right? Like you mentioned, like you don't know like, now what to do next. Like, from your experiences, seeing your friends and living in Japan also, what would you like to tell girls? Like if it happens, try to do this. If you don't know the language, if you don't know the police, try this. Like talk to a friend, or like what could they do? In that case?
I think it's every woman's choice how to handle the situation. I think if you're going from a legal standpoint, report as soon as possible. Do not do anything. Go and report immediately. Go get tested if there are drugs in your system right away. Preserve all evidence. I think that's the most important, and really push that it gets reported. And it's also really important to know that if you are here and you are dealing with the police, you are legally allowed to have a translator. They cannot stop you from having a translator. You have that right to have a translator with you.
You can go to any police station and they'll bring a translator?
Yeah, as far as I know, they will provide a translator for you. That's very useful to know because they will try not to, because it's kind of a burden, but you are allowed to have that.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I just found that out recently as well. I would recommend that if you go for legal action. If you are not going to take that course of action, your support system is so important. I think if this happens to you, you feel almost ashamed and embarrassed, and you don't want to talk about it, but you are not in the wrong. You did nothing wrong. Even if you think, even in my case, I think, oh, I shouldn't have drank it after he passed it to me, or I shouldn't have done this or that. I didn't do that to myself. I didn't cause that to happen. It shouldn't be my burden to not be drugged. It should be the man's job to not drug other people.
That's a very good point you raised, because if it had happened to me, I would think that way. Oh, because it's my mistake. Why did I drink it at the first place?
It is. You feel like it's my responsibility. But don't hold that burden alone. Talk to your friend, lean on people, and they will help you. There are resources available. There are English-speaking therapists and psychiatrists here as well. But just for tips, if you do go someplace like this, even if you go someplace like a VIP table, don't take the drinks from there. They have bottles, don't take the drinks from there. Even some bartenders are paid to spike drinks. This happens everywhere, but it also happens here. So if you want to be extra careful, order bottled beer or go to a convenience store, come back. You'll know that no one's messed with your drink that way.
Okay, in the last, I will beep this name also.
Sure,
I shouldn't do that.
That's okay.
Especially the young girls who are very excited because of K-pop, or there are many young girls who might be traveling to Korea for the first time. Mm-hmm. What is your advice for them? Just to be careful in that particular thing.
Like with dating,
clubbing. Because when you come to Korea, you want to go to Hongdae, Itaewon, all the party areas, and that means you will end up drinking. Mm-hmm. You might end up partying, and there might be guys coming. In that case, what do you want to suggest or advise them?
So many things. So many things I wish I had known. I think, first of all, of course, as I have already mentioned, always be aware of your drink. I mentioned those tips before already, but that's really important. Be careful of your friends as well. Don't leave unless your friends know where you are, where you're going. Try and keep updates with each other. It really is one of these situations. You're in a foreign country. You don't have the same protection that you had back home. And even if you didn't have that much back home, you have even less here, which is an unfortunate truth. So you really need to watch out for each other. First and foremost, you most likely will want to go somewhere with someone, and that's okay, but just be careful, know where you are at all times. If you have a bad feeling, trust your gut. It's really basic advice. I think be aware of how prevalent date rape drugs are here, because even though they are an issue in the US, I do think it's much more here. And a lot of times the staff in bars and clubs may also be paid to do that, like I mentioned before as well. Just recently there was a huge issue where there's a very misogynistic website here. I think it's called Ilbo. It was a big scandal where all these Korean men had hidden camera footage of them having sex with foreign women in motel rooms and they didn't know. So they were uploading it to this website. They were showing the women's faces. They had no idea they had been filmed. There's a lot of them where they're obviously drunk or something. But that's a huge issue here. That's another point. If you do go somewhere with someone, be extremely, extremely careful. Motel rooms, Airbnbs, their home, wherever it is, they can definitely have hidden cameras. That's huge. Be very, very careful. And it's really hard to first off find out if it's happened to you and also to legally fight them, get it removed, things like that. It's really challenging. No matter where you go, just be careful. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate for, I'm sure that a lot of people might have a lot of questions and they might want to ask you, but I can't put your Instagram there because that's a problem. But anyways, what I'll do is I'll ask them if they have comments and questions, they can put it, and then somehow through secret something you can reply them back if it's possible. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video today, and I wonder what is your tip or advice or suggestion for people who went through this, or what to do if you somehow unfortunately go through that kind of experience, because it could be a very bad memory that could stay with you forever. So I would really appreciate your comments in the comment section below, because I know there might be people who might read your comments who went through that kind of experience, and it could help each other to learn and grow from this. Plus, I would really, really request you guys to share this video with your friends who are planning to travel sooner or later. And of course, do not forget to like, share, subscribe, and most importantly, be careful.